Hey everyone, okay, today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can get a smooth finish to skin that is dry, because the problem with dry skin is the texture of it is uneven, and that can cause problems and patchiness where the product clings to the skin and makes it look not as beautiful as it really could. I have very combination skin. Sometimes it's very soft, sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's very oily. It's a problem. I deal with my skin on a daily basis, how it is reacting that day, as opposed to just picking a genre and hoping I stay in it. So I'm going to try and show you some of the best products and the best ways I know of dealing with dry skin. If you're working with somebody else or on yourself, the best thing you can do in the morning to be able to get that smooth surface is to exfoliate the skin. A washcloth is fine. I'm not a big fan of scrubs because I think they're often too harsh, or a muslin cloth, something like that, something lovely and soft that you can exfoliate the face with, or a Clarisonic will work perfectly great. If you have those things or you can get them, that's wonderful because it will give you a clean start. Make sure you prime, and when I say prime I mean moisturize or prime, but something that will coat the skin with a little bit of loveliness so that the products will go on kinda nicer and will stay that way for longer. The priming aspect is very important. A toner can go a long way in helping this. The Paula's Choice toners are filled with antioxidants and cell communicating ingredients and other things that can push moisture and keep the moisture in the skin. So a toner is a wonderful way of, doing something, and then put your primer or your moisturizer on afterwards. So that will give you a smoother finish. One of the worst things you can do with dry skin is to use a foundation brush, like a paddle brush, which is the flat lay down brush. This happens to be one by Hakuhodo. This is one of the best foundation brushes paddle wise that you can get. It's amazing. It is huge and thick and meaty, and who doesn't want something big and meaty in their hands? That's what I say. I know I do. So yes, yeah, totally lost my train of thought then. Wonderful brush. This was like £64 or something ridiculous like that, but it's a wonderful brush. But the problem is that when you're doing this motion or this motion, you're exfoliating the skin. You're creating a micro exfoliation. Even when you're using brushes that are very soft and splay, like a stippling brush, the problem is that you're creating micro exfoliation, and that can make the foundation cling to patches of the skin. We don't want that. So the best thing to do is to use a damp sponge. Easiest way to do it. Beauty Blender sponge is the ones I prefer. There are lots of other ones out there that are perfectly good. You don't have to have this one. Do whatever makes you happy and is in your budget. Just dampen them. They're great because the bouncing motion that you do with this enables the skin to not exfoliate, and it pushes the product onto the skin so that it sits nicely. Now I'm going to show you a little selection of some of the most wonderful products you can use for dry skin. MAC Full Coverage Foundation is still one of my favorite products. It's amazing. It goes on beautifully with a Beauty Blender, and it can be sheer or heavy depending on how you want it. It's not a pro product. You don't have to be a pro to get it. It is a pro product, but you don't have to be a pro. You can just phone them up, it's fine. Ket Cream Foundation, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful product. Absolutely gorgeous, you'll love it. Mud foundations are quite divine, go on beautifully and flawlessly, and they're just absolutely joyful to use. So I have no doubt you'll love them. As far as foundations go, I prefer water-based foundations on dry skin, but there's one exception I'll show you. But I would prefer a water-based foundation. I think that they're more kind to skin because silicone can grab. So MAC Face and Body is a wonderful one. I think even the Makeup Forever Face and Body, even though it's water-based, it still has a tendency to cling a little bit more because it has a powdery finish, whereas the MAC one doesn't, and it's a great foundation because you can get a much more dewy look. And the one foundation that I'm going to do a whole video on, an application, is the most wonderful foundation ever. This is 30 mils, so it's the same size as a normal one, and it's the Makeup Atelier HD foundation. It's a silicone based one, but it doesn't cling to any dry patches. It looks like skin. It looks like proper real skin, and it is amazing. A whole video and the application process can be seen on that. I have it on in case you're wondering what it looks like. It's the most amazing foundation, and you know all that contouring work I do prior where I highlight and contour the face, I now go over with this. So I use all the creams to contour and highlight, and then I go over with this, just wonderful. So those are the foundations that I really think are quite wonderful. Let me know what foundations you use for dry skin, because it's always important to share as much information as we can. But if you've got dry skin, try and stay away from big meaty things like this, because you know we don't want to exfoliate our faces when we are trying to lay down the perfect canvas. And of course, when you go to powder your face, a wonderful powder is the NARS crystal, translucent crystal powder, which is the light reflecting powder. It's a wonderful powder. I have given up, long gone now, of powdering the whole face to death. Precision powder, center of the face, let the rest of the skin be, especially with dry skin. And one of the worst things you can do with dry skin is to be buffing powder in. Absolutely not, because you're going to exfoliate again. If you're using a powder brush, you can lightly tap it, or tap and do this rolling motion, will not cause any problems with the powder, therefore creating more of that awful cakiness that we're trying to avoid. And that, I have gone on for long enough, is my recommendations for how to get a smooth finish on dry skin. If you've watched the end of this video, I'd be very grateful if you put your thumbs up and click that button. Is it that way? It's the button that I would love that. Make me very happy. Thanks so much for your time. Bye-bye.